Hey, and welcome back to Wheat Beat. My name is Mike. You would think that installing a hood in your bakery should be no big deal, right? Wrong! Stay tuned for my hood installation adventure. Now, last time we talked about electrical decisions and we also showed construction progress. In case you're new to this series, I'm building a micro bakery right in my own home. You can click the link up above if you want to get caught up on this series. But today we're talking about the installation of the baking hood itself, and this is part 9 of that series. Now, I never dreamed it would be even 1/10 as difficult to do this whole hood thing as it has been, but it has been. As far as the selection of the hood itself goes, I definitely recommend you see at least part 7 with the link up above on how we made that hood selection, but we did select a Type 2 hood and we purchased it at Hood Mart. Now you also know we selected a fairly large hood, and by large I mean it's about 9 feet long, 5 feet deep, and about 2 feet tall, so it's kind of a monster. So we went ahead and ordered it last time, and now we wait for the arrival. Now with COVID and everything going on in the world, it actually didn't take Hood Mart very long to make the hood itself. It only took them about a week. The real bottleneck was with transportation. Now Hood Mart broke the order down into 2 pieces. One was the big fan that goes on top of the roof, and the other was the actual hood itself and the roof curb, which we talked about again in part 7. So they sent the fan itself using FedEx, and I think they were doing that to try to speed things up. But unfortunately, there was a problem when it arrived. So it did arrive quickly, but unfortunately arrived damaged. Here it is when I open the box, and you can see that there's a bent frame, and when you took it out you can clearly see that the round cover there is dented, and it looks like the box itself was kind of thrown around a little bit. I called Hood Mart right away, and they immediately acknowledged that it was probably a mistake to send it by FedEx. Normally they always send everything by freight. They didn't really give me a reason why they did it, but they were kind enough to send me out a new fan almost immediately, and before I even had to return the damaged fan. Kudos to Hood Mart. I think their customer service was excellent. They were very good to work with. In general, I will just summarize for you that working with Hood Mart was a good experience. They followed up the way they said they would. They did everything correctly. They were a pleasure to work with, and I would do business with them again. So back to the freight. It's not Hood Mart's fault. There's just a bottleneck right now and a lack of truckers and workers and things like that. There's a lot of backup in the supply chain, and it's taking a long time to get things delivered. What used to take maybe 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to get, is now taking several months, and this hood is no exception. So I did call YRC, that was the freight company that was in charge of delivering my stuff, and they were also very nice to work with, helpful. They were trying to be as accommodating as possible. They just told me, listen, we just don't have enough truckers, we don't have enough resources to deliver things, and we're severely backed up. But they were trying their best, and I believe that they were. The first thing that actually showed up for me was that replacement fan. And again, YRC was kind enough to just deliver it directly to my house so that I wouldn't have it sitting around in this unfinished bakery, basically, where it would be susceptible to theft or other things. So YRC showed up in my house with this giant 18-wheeler and dropped off this fan. I mean, how cool is that? Of course, I opened the fan right away to make sure that it was not damaged, and YRC delivered it in perfect condition. Everything looked really good, and I was stoked. Then about a week later, YRC called me again to say that the hood was ready to be delivered, and this time I obviously needed them to deliver it directly to the house, the new house where the bakery is, because it's far too large for me to transport it later. I recruited a couple of guys, a group of guys that were there working on other things to help me get it from the curb inside the garage itself. And let me just say, it was a stressful day because this thing is very large and very difficult to manipulate, and I didn't want anything to go wrong. So there it is in the truck. It's actually bigger than I thought it would be. It kind of looks like a jacuzzi or something in the truck. It took a lot of work just to get it out of there. I mean, the guy had to shimmy it from side to side. I mean, look at all that work just to get it from the back of the truck to the front. So he finally gets it on the lift gate, and now my palms are really getting sweaty because it's kind of rocking around, and I'm like anticipating disaster with this thing falling over and breaking or bending. But he gets it off the truck without issue, and now we need to get it into the house. So YRC leaves, And these guys go and pick it up and bring it into the garage, and everything actually went off without a hitch. Now you see this doorway. This is the door from the garage to the house. The hood needs to go through here, and then we make a right-hand turn into the bakery, and here's the wall where the ovens are going to go. Up above is that duct that it will attach to. Now this weird looking thing on top, that's the roof curb itself that they just combined into the whole package. And we discussed this in part 7. It's a 3/12 pitched curb, just like I ordered. Now here I've peeled back some of the wrapping, and you can see that they installed the lights as I asked them to. Here, notice in the middle there's nothing, it's blank. You would have expected there to be a hole for the duct. Well, no, that's actually something that's cut out once the hood is installed and they know the precise location where the duct is going to go. So right now I expect it to just be one blank piece. Now as I sit there admiring this beautiful new giant hood, I get this stomach churning sensation that, oh my God, this thing is so big. Am I going to be able to get this through the door? I thought maybe I could disassemble the hood and then reassemble it inside the bakery, but no go. This is one solid piece. It's welded together. You cannot disassemble this hood and then reassemble it. So that option was out. So how does one go about figuring out if this hood is going to fit through the door or not? My idea was to basically take some cardboard and combine it together into one large piece and then cut out the cardboard so that it's precisely the footprint of the hood on its side, the way that I would expect to pull it into the room. Now, I guess this is one of those things that you should probably figure out before you place the hood order and before they get to this stage of construction. I guess maybe that's the point of this series, so that you don't make the really stupid mistakes that I made, like this one. This was a stupid mistake. How could I get to this stage and not know in advance if it's going to fit through the door or not? Okay, we're going to try to see if this fits first time. I haven't tried it before, so we're going to find out now. I'm going to get it through the door. Will it fit? Not like that. All right, let's try another strategy. Got it up. Hey, how are you? Good. No, it doesn't fit like that either. The answer is I don't think it fits. Houston, we've got a problem. This thing does not fit. I mean, I tried many different ways to get it through there. It just didn't work. I felt like, okay, now what do I do? Even Milo here tried to give us a helping hand, but all he managed to do was just get his nose rubbed in a bunch of drywall dust, so that was useless. So what are my options now? Well, one option is to break this wall here so I can slide the whole thing to the left. Another option is to break this wall and then slide the whole thing kind of straight in. The problem is that the hood in reality is over 5 feet. And when it's on its side like this, there are these electrical outlets, and behind this wall there's more electrical outlets. So doing this is going to damage the electrical wiring, which is going to create a whole nother headache for us. So I went back home and very disappointed and disenchanted. But a few sleepless nights later, I came up with another option. Mine were trying a different layout, which is instead of doing it lengthwise, we're going to look at this direction now. And now we're going to see if we tip the whole thing up, if we can fit it through the door. So let's check. Okay, so now if we tip it up, now it's going to be 9 feet high this way. Now we can push it along like this. So you can easily rotate it in like this. And now you can push it in, and you're going to hit the top of the door right there. Is maybe cut out 1 foot above there, like a slot that's 20 inches. And then we'll be able to slide this thing in, and then I think the repair will be much easier that way. Don't have to damage any walls or deal with electricals, because I know there's nothing electrical up there, and there's nothing that's going to get damaged other than a 2x4 that can be easily repaired. My new idea is that I'm actually going to cut a hole here over the doorway, and that's actually a relatively easy thing to do because there's no electrical wiring there or anything. There's just a couple of 2x4 framings and drywall. If I cut out that top part of the doorway and then turn the whole hood on its other side, which you'll see later on, I'll be able to slide it right in, and then patching that area should be relatively easy to do. So I've recruited a group of framers to come and help me do this, and they've told me that they'll be here tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to get the project started. And until tomorrow at 6 a.m., I have 2 tasks to do. One is I need to cut the drywall over this doorway so they know precisely where they need to make cuts. And my second task is I need to go to Home Depot and figure out how am I going to install this hood up on the ceiling. Now, once again, the theme here has been try to figure this stuff out before you get to this stage. Don't make the mistakes that I made. Here was another one of those stupid mistakes. I should have already figured out how I'm going to install this thing to the ceiling way before today. But that's the situation. The lesson learned here is don't hire residential contractors to do a commercial job. That was my #1 mistake with this whole process. I should have hired professional commercial guys that know how to install hoods, coordinate and do all of this for me instead of me having to figure it out on my own. But that's the situation now. I'm out of time. I've got to do this myself. So I'm going to actually cut the video short. I'm going to try to break this down into 2 parts because I don't want it to get way too long. I'm going to go ahead and cut out the drywall first. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm here this evening, the morning before the framers get here and help me install the hood. So right behind me here is the doorway that we need to get this through. And I've done sort of a rough calculation that if I cut off about 1 foot above this header here, I will be able to fit the hood through the door. So let's hope I'm right. And I'm going to start by removing the drywall around here, and then the framers tomorrow will be able to take this apart, help me get it through the door, hang it, and then they're going to rebuild this header over here, and I'm going to put the drywall back on, tape it, put the joint compound over the top, and hopefully we'll have a hood inside by tomorrow morning. This will all be repaired and it will look as good as new. So I've removed the screws in the drywall. I used a magnet, basically run over the drywall to see where they are, took out the screws, cut out the drywall, popped it off here as you can see. And next thing I'm going to do is the exact same thing on the other side of the wall. Okay, so success. I was able to cut out the 2 ends there of the drywall, and then tomorrow morning they're going to cut this off, and then there's going to create an opening in here, and then I'm going to be able to drag the hood inside and then get it inside here where you see the vent there, which actually is the wrong size. We're going to have to make that 14-inch diameter instead of 10-inch, which is currently is. And then finally, I'm also going to have them while they're here cover that hole for floor sink, because right now it's in the center, and the deck oven, which is going to go over here, is going to be really wide, and the wheels are going to end up on that floor sink. So I'm going to have them cover that, and then we're going to move it somewhere over here a little bit more towards the convection oven, which is going to be here in this corner. So we'll come back tomorrow morning and keep going. So now I'm off to Home Depot. As I said, I need to, between now and 6 a.m. tomorrow, figure out how am I going to install this thing on the ceiling. Good luck to me, right? Well, please subscribe to this channel so that you find out when I upload that new video, and you can find out what kind of options I looked at and what I ended up going with. And then when you come back next time, we'll actually have the crew here at 6 a.m. We're going to cut out that frame. We're going to get this thing in. Are we going to be successful? Will this work? Did we get it all right? Or did we end up in disaster? AKA the whole thing came crashing down. Well, we'll find out next time. Until then, go bake something.